Welcome to the Building Design Primetime Podcast, focused on providing valuable information for anyone looking to undertake a new build or extension project. We'll share our tips, tricks and stories from a building designer's perspective.
Welcome to the Building Design Primetime Podcast. Once again, we're joined by Frank Geskis.
Hey, Amelia.
And I'm Amelia, your host. And once again, we're going to be back talking to you about something really exciting this week.
Steep building sites.
I know, isn't that exciting?
Well, as long as you don't have to walk up it or down it, whatever the case may be.
True, but we deal with it all the time.
Oh, in Tasmania, I mean, finding a flat site's rare. You know, but what comes with steep sites?
Excellent views.
Yes,
and we like to design to accommodate those stunning views.
And in some cases, beautiful sunlight coming through. It's wonderful.
And I guess that's why people buy properties like that.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. All over the state, you know. We're very fortunate in that regard. Just beautiful. Well, some of them are beautiful. Some are like serious goat tracks. You wonder how they get the car in and out of there. And I've seen some pretty amazing stuff, and we've seen some ordinary stuff where cars have fallen off the edge and a few things like that. I've seen excavators. Someone sent me a video once of an excavator. It was raining on this site. They still had the concrete drive in, and the excavator slid down the driveway, fell over the edge, took out the water meters, and lying on its side.
Oh, gee, that's a worry.
Oh, big time. It was terrible. It was so steep, that site was.
Wow. So what are the things that we need to think about when, you know, customers are looking to purchase a block that is quite steep?
Even not just buy a block, but what about an existing house on a steep site?
Well, that's very true.
So lots of things to consider. Well, why do we start with buying an existing house on a steep block? I suppose the big thing, are you comfortable with the steepness of this block, like driving up, backing out or backing down into it? One of the things that I struggle with is the poor design in driveways. And I'll use the example, I took a photo of one the other day. I went to someone's house to do a quote for a deck and a pergola out the back. And I was looking at their driveway and they had these big metal grates at the bottom, so in front of the door. And I said, is that because it's so steep that the nose of the car digs into the concrete? And she goes, I don't know, it's always been there. But these grates they put in are so heavy I can't move them. So you can't clean underneath it. They're massive. And I went at a close look. These things are massive. And it was very obvious to me that they designed it that the concrete went at a straight angle down to a drain, and any normal car would just smash its nose into the concrete or drag its tail. Either it was pretty bad, real bad.
So poor design.
Very poor design.
So I guess it comes back to access too.
Very much so. Access. Like you look at some of the older 60s, 70s houses, they've got the stairs out the front to get to the front door. So you get up the steep driveway or down a steep driveway, and then you've got to go up a set of stairs. I've seen some we're in Launceston, out at Trevellyn. I've seen them with what we call troll bridges. So you go from the footpath, you go across a bridge to the front door because it's so steep.
That's a bit scary.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's not really. It's just a footpath up there. Most of them are concrete.
Oh, I guess how high. It depends how high off the ground they are too.
I think when you've got the front door, probably about 3 metres out of the ground. That's a nice steep site.
That's very steep. So how do we accommodate for, you know, the design part of it to accommodate for steepness?
Well, if we've got clearly a vacant block, and we're trying to design for that, that's where a really high quality detail survey is really important. So that's a feature survey. So you're picking up all the heights on the site, produces contour lines. We need to know where the fences are. We need to know where the crossover is, where the given access onto the site for your vehicle. And from that point to where we line up your garage or parking spot, wherever that may be, we need to make sure that works well for your car. And there's an Australian standard for that as well. I think a few people haven't read it, looking at some of the houses that I've seen. But it's a really important thing. If you can't get your car in comfortably into a parking spot or a drive into the house, like it's so steep that you leave your exhaust behind when you go up over something. You're scraping the car.
Oh,
that's not right.
No.
Mind you, 1 in 12 cars that are sold now are SUVs. So
yeah,
it's not
they've
quite
got a bit
as
of
bad.
extra height in them.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not the point. It should be designed properly and not just sharp angles. When I talk to the guys in the office, when we look at driveways, I call the roll in and roll out of a driveway. So when you come into a driveway, let's just say it's a steep site that is below you. So when you have that transition from the crossover and you're going down, that at the top of the driveway, rather than a sharp edge, you want to have a roll so the concrete rolls over. Mm-hmm. So it's a gentle thing for the car rather than abrupt. And then when it gets down to the bottom, same thing, it rolls onto a flatter surface. So it's designed to do that. So it's not just straight lines, it's all curves. And that makes it a lot more comfortable and not as scary.
The other thing that is, I guess, important to think about as well is, your turning circle and, what if you've done a bit of gardening and you want to take your stuff to the tip and...
Back the trailer in.
Yeah, how do you do that on a steep site? Like, it really does come down to...
And it's really intimidating.
Yeah.
It's seriously intimidating. If you've never done a trailer, you're backing a trailer down and it's not straight. That's the funny thing. A lot of sites I've seen, they're not straight. They come in at an angle, then you've got to turn the trailer. It can be really intimidating. And if you've never towed a trailer and backed one in, especially little box trailers, they're really hard to do compared to a tandem. You can get yourself into all sorts of a bind and you're stuck down the bottom or up the top of a hill.
Yeah.
And depends on the type of vehicle you have.
For sure.
Trailers, horror show, really tough.
Yeah.
Imagine moving in.
Yes,
delivery
the
truck.
removal. Yeah, the truck. Yeah, that could be a problem. Or, if you're like me, you might have a horse float.
Yeah, everyone's got a horse float.
Or some people might have a horse float.
They're a nice big trailer, tall as well.
Yes.
All you need is a cranky horse in the back too. But hang on, why would you bring your horse trailer home into your driveway, the front of your house?
Well, not at my house at the moment, but people have properties that accommodate their horses, so...
Then don't you leave the trailer there?
No, but you take your horses places.
Yeah, true, but not down your driveway.
Oh, well, they might. You never know. You could...
To bring horsey home?
Yeah.
Meet the family, bring the horse.
Yeah, well, there's a new design for you.
Oh,
You could have a room off the side with a stable that has
Stable on the side.
Yeah, and a window that looks into the house.
Oh, well, you're going to do Mr. Ed, are you?
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you old enough to remember?
Look, I'm not old enough, but I have been told about Mr. Ed.
Right,
Yeah.
yes.
But you are definitely showing your age by...
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
So a lot of consideration drive, but what the other thing is, just put your wheelie bins out. Imagine if you've got a really steep site up, obviously if you're going down, it's easy to drop them off. If it's going up, you've got to go from the bottom to drag your wheelie bins up. Have you seen those things that people put on the back of the cars to tow the wheelie bins?
Yes.
That might be a good answer.
Might be a good answer. Or it'd be massive pain walking up and down the driveway to drop your bins off.
Well, at least you get fit.
This is very true. Get your steps up, people.
Yeah. I had a really old house that was sitting on the hill in the middle of Launceston and a crazy driveway. It was really old and dodgy. But we had a big set of stairs up the side of the house. And that's how we got most of our furniture in and out rather than the driveway because we'd slip over in the driveway.
Because it was so steep.
It was really steep.
Wow.
It was really intimidating.
So I guess the other thing too, just going back to access for your driveway, so I've noticed that some blocks can accommodate additional access.
Some.
I realise this isn't a common feature, particularly for
and that's the size of the lot, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah, we've certainly seen that. When you got really small lots, there was a new subdivision out at Riverside and the lots are really narrow so they can get more houses. Mm-hmm. So you've only got one option. So you only get one crossover. You might have to go to a double crossover, so for a double garage, and the garage is hanging out of midair. So I've done that a few times where the site drops off. So you're standing there, you're looking down on the site, and it's the type of site you'd never take your car down. So, we've done a couple where we've actually built the garage and we could be, 2 or 3 metres out of the ground. It's all suspended concrete and then the driveway is suspended concrete and the driveway's widened to get to the front door. And it looks fine. Works really well.
Yeah.
It's all suspended concrete.
I've noticed I guess particularly like as you come like through West Launceston and those
Yeah,
sort of
West
places.
Launceston. Oh, there's a couple of beauties there, isn't there?
Yeah, a couple of perlers where, you know, they've got their sort of separate carport up at the very top, and then you sort of go down towards the house.
Yeah.
You have to walk down, obviously, steps
then-
or...
You know, when you look at those sites and you go to want to buy one, the view's amazing, and you want to renovate it, you've got to get all your building materials down there.
It could be a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I've seen some where they've blocked off the road and use a crane to get a lot of the stuff down.
Wow.
Plan it really well, get it all down there.
So it is possible, but what are the things that you have to think about? Is cost going to be increased?
Oh, 100%. Whether it's renovation or building new. I'll use the example of building new. If you've got a oh man, I can't even spit it out. Yeah. Average slope of the block, we say allow 20% extra in cost. It sounds a lot, but it does add a lot to the build. And when you get really steep, like I'm not going to take my car down there, you're probably up to 30% because you've got to build all these walls underneath from your floor down. Now, it might be ideal for a 2-storey house, and at the your driveway level, footpath level, that's where your top floor is, or you can get down and you put another level underneath. So actually we did one just last year where we designed a house for a client, and it was virtually nearly 3 stories high just purely because of the topography, and it was on the low side. And he came back to us last year and we put a whole new apartment underneath.
Underneath?
Yeah, we fit another 3 bedrooms and an open plan living and a kitchenette under there. It was huge.
Oh, wow.
But it was easy to do.
Because it was built up on...
Yeah, and it was still hanging out of the ground.
Oh,
like
wow.
At the far end, I think when you came out the side door, still out at least 1.5, 2 metres out of the ground.
That's insane.
It is. Oh, when you see the photos, you go, oh, yeah, right, okay, I get it. It's just a really steep site. But he can get nice, him and his wife can get in really easy because we designed the driveway to be relatively flat. That's why I find steepness of blocks on the low side sometimes easier to design because you can drive in straight into the garage and enter it nice and easy.
And then you tier like your backyard.
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe.
Just concrete the lot. Sorry,
Sound like-
I'm only joking.
You sound like an Italian.
Because it's hard to get down there to do the gardening and stuff and hard to get the rubbish out. When you're on the high side, generally you're driving up into the site and then you're still cutting into the site. Mm-hmm. So there's huge amounts of cutting out of a site to actually fit a garage, entry, bedroom. So you're paying a lot for retaining walls, drainage, and then the driveway is still not very nice to use. So a lot of design effort has to go into. So I like dropping down the sites that are sloped down rather than slope up to build on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just because they're easier.
Yeah. I did one for friends of mine. It was a really steep site. We were able to get lots of rock. We said, let's shape it up first, see what rock we find, and we found a nice pad. But to make it the upper floor work, so we drove up to the garage, and it was still quite steep. From the lower ground, we put 3-metre ceilings in on the lower ground.
Oh, that's high.
Yeah, and then we still had it was about 450 thick floor system through there. So this massive staircase, but when they got at the top, they could actually have a decent yard at the back.
Oh, because you'd raised it that much?
Raised that high, so we got into the ground, and they actually had a half reasonable backyard.
Oh, that's cool. So
Yeah.
it's functionality as well, I guess, too, to consider.
Yeah, you've got to play with your ceiling heights to work with the site. So you don't fight the site, you try and work with the site that you have. And that's why I've spoken about this before. Let us evaluate your sites for you. Let us have a look at what you've got, and the only way to really do is do a proper feature survey. Then we know what the heights are, see where the floors sit and how the backyard will interact, how the driveway will work. Very important stuff. Because you can spend a huge amount of money on that. We've done lots of renos on old places where they're on steep sites, and we can't get some of these things to work. You're stuck with what they've built. So, interesting though, in West Launceston, we did one in particular where we built underneath the house. There was heaps of room. And we built bedrooms, a couple of bedrooms, new laundry, bathroom, and like a rumpus room.
Yeah,
and fit the staircase in.
Wow, that's amazing.
It was really cool. That was about 10, 15 years ago. There was a lot of work for the builder. It was hard to get everything out. So they had to dig it out by hand. Can't get a machine in. They had to blast some rock under there. So they actually used a system where they just split the rock and got a very small excavator to pull it out without a roof on it. Yeah,
There'd be a bit of engineering,
Oh,
I imagine,
yeah.
involved in that sort of thing.
Yep, there is a lot of engineering and also how you stabilise the house while you're doing the work. You're always going to get a little bit of cracking in the older houses in the plaster, so it needs patching up upstairs.
Yeah, I know my sister, she's recently
Oh, yeah.
done something similar where she's dug out sort
Yeah.
of next to the garage under the house.
How did that go?
Yeah, really good. Yeah. Yeah, they had to prop up the house on like these metal poles
Yes.
for a few weeks.
Acro props.
Yes. So I think there was a little bit of movement and it was quite, noisy and bit of vibration and stuff. But
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
But they had the space under there to do it.
They did.
And our biggest challenge with that one was water.
Really?
You remember, they had a lot of water in one area, so we had to work hard on getting all the drainage and get any water that was coming through the clay, draining it out.
Yeah, right. I didn't realise that was an issue, but yeah, there you go.
Oh, we recognised it when we went in there.
Yeah.
And that, again, it is dealing with the conditions that you have. Again, steep side,
Yes.
and look at the extra value they got in their house
Oh,
by
yeah.
going in underneath.
Another whole room
And that's the thing, when you're buying a house, you can look at what is the potential of this house, because not everyone's going to build. Potentially they're going to buy, renovate. So you come in underneath, build underneath the house. We've done a number of those. A lot of extra work, but it is very doable.
Yeah, very cool. Cool to see what's actually possible.
True. You know what the hardest thing is to fit?
What?
Staircase.
Yeah, actually, because that would take up the most amount of space, wouldn't it?
Yeah, staircase takes about 2/3 of a basic bedroom. So you're looking at 4 by 2 metres. Subject to how it fits. It might be a big, long run. I did one for friends in a place where we designed a really wide cupboard. And when they were ready to go upstairs, we took out the cupboard and put a staircase in.
Oh, cool.
So that was planned in the design of the house.
Yeah.
But stairs are always hard to fit in retrofitting a house because they've got to go into a location so the house flows well. So from where your entry is to where the bedrooms, living area, to what and how it goes downstairs and what it connects with downstairs.
So do you recommend for anyone that's building something new on a steep site and potentially in the future they're looking to add underneath, do you recommend that they make you aware of that at the beginning so that
100%.
we can accommodate that for the design?
Yeah, if there's space to allow a staircase and you need to allow a metre width for a straight run, a couple of metres for a U shape where it turns on itself, there's no reason why you can't accommodate it. And you've got to be clever where you've got to put it. So you don't put it smack bang in the lounge room, and I've seen that before.
Oh, yeah.
Looks really stupid. It's just good planning, and then how is downstairs potentially going to work for you? But you can work with your designer or architect. They'll be able to incorporate that in with you for future expansion. The key is to allow for it in the floor system so it can be cut out.
Oh, that's a really good point. So the type of flooring.
Well, not just the type, but say if you're using floor trusses, I'll use that for an example, that the floor trusses are designed that you can take a piece out, re-support, and you can take a piece out. They could be floor joists, high beams, high joists, high spans, all sorts of stuff, that any timber floor, but it's been designed that you can put another wall in downstairs to form the opening. So you're not mangling the whole floor.
Yeah, and then it would probably cost a lot more if you hadn't accommodated for that. And then you've got to try and cut
true.
out,
Yeah, it's true.
some sort of beams
And stairs always take more space than you think.
I can imagine it would be quite a lot of space.
Huge amount of space.
Yeah.
So like I keep saying, you need a metre minimum to make them comfortable, width. But you need head clearance. So that's a lot of people don't think about, unless you're in the game. You don't think about the head clearance you need for a stairs. So renovating steep side homes, you've got potential on the lower side. On the upper side, it's harder. Because then I've done some where we've dug back into the bank further and re-supported the house on the high side. But they're more challenging. So it's getting a designer or an architect in to have a look at, if you're looking at buying something, potentially doing renos, extensions, expansions. Yeah. So there's lots of possibilities. And in Tasmania, there is so many houses on a steep site. Everywhere, especially the old stock. There's heaps of it.
I've actually seen one recently that I was looking at that was down in Hobart. And literally, I don't even know how they got this house on the site because there is no backyard because it just drops off. The backyard is the deck. That's it.
Yes.
And I was just absolutely gobsmacked that they'd managed to get this house on this really steep site. Once again, they had sort of you drive in straight into the carport.
How old was the house?
Oh, it's new. It's brand new.
Oh, right.
Brand new.
Wow.
And it was tiered down sort of 2 or 3 sections as the site.
So step
dropped.
down the site.
So, yeah, I'd
wow.
say it was split level just looking from the outside. But, yeah, it was – I'll have to show you some photos because it was pretty insane. Yeah.
The thing that I see coming in the future is more transportable pods to build the houses. So we talk about transportable homes, and we're going to get someone in soon to talk about transportable homes. And I can already see on some of these really steeper sites they're going to build modules of their homes and be able to put them onto poles, and you click them together on the site.
It sounds like quite a good cost-effective option.
It's definitely got the possibility. It's subject to a lot of things, but also a lot of builders are getting their head around prefabrication. It's already happening a lot, as I believe, on the mainland where the sites are very restrictive. You know, instead of having 10 tradies utes hanging out the front, they can't do it. They don't have the parking for it. Mm-hmm. Like in Tassie, we haven't quite got that restriction yet, but it's coming. As population density increases, they need to build smarter and to be able to bring more prefabricated units into the building site.
Wow. So there's less of a design aspect in that as well if we're going more into prefabrication.
No, I disagree with that. That's
Really?
where the designers go into a different realm because they have to learn how to prefabricate a lot of this stuff and work with builders and work with experts how to do it. Because there are prefabricated wall units you can get, SIPS panels, there's other types of panels you can use. They're still not quite cost effective there, cross-lamination, those types of things. Then on your average builds, they're not quite there yet, but more your high-end builds, they could be cost effective because the sites are worth so much more. You know, the price of land is going up.
Yes.
Position of where the sites are in very desirable areas. And you've got a street, and we call it sometimes keyhole construction because you're trying to get trucks and tradies and stuff through a keyhole to build a whole house.
But it's nearly like trying to do in a city, really.
Yeah, and we've done that a few times too, and it's tough on builders.
Oh, definitely.
And trades,
We've
all the
done
trades.
one recently where there was a very, had very tight restrictions on the size and trying to get access to the site because it was in a city.
Yeah. We had one where it was right in the CBD, and they only had about a 1,500 wide access laneway to get to this upper story reno.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, funny time. Me and the building surveyor went there to have a look. Someone had got in and sadly it was full of homeless people.
Oh, you're joking.
Nah, and we got in the door and go, what are these people doing here? And got in.
It's a party.
Oh, well, it wasn't quite, but they were just trying to find somewhere in the middle of winter in Launceston.
Yeah, wow.
So even though it was private land, so look, it got sorted, but that hit me pretty much between the eyes seeing that because you're not always exposed to people roughing it, and it kind of hit me between the eyes a little bit. I was a little bit shocked.
Wow.
Yeah, they just wanted somewhere out of the cold.
Well, and they wouldn't have that space after it's completed either, because I imagine someone will be living in it.
Yeah, it turned into this beautiful apartment. It was great. So, and that was really for all trades. You've got to walk, and also parking restrictions and all that. But yeah, we've kind of digressed from the steep sites, but it still shows how hard construction can be on steep sites, but even inner city sites. It has to be so well planned. And so do the steeper sites. I went to one yesterday and they were just redoing the driveway, and I was talking to the landscaper who was doing it. It says, they actually made it wider, safer, turning spot at the top, but they built these massive retaining walls just to make it more user-friendly for the car. So they had the parking spot, and you still had to go down like 12 steps to the front door.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it was really steep.
Well, that'd be fun carting the groceries down.
Yeah, well, people don't think of that. Imagine you've got young kids, you've got a pram, you've got young kids, you try and get them down there safely. I must say the young kids learn how to use stairs pretty quick.
I reckon. So there's a lot to consider. I guess even the first thing is, does it accommodate, your family?
Your family, your needs at the time, I believe you can adapt to different sites, different houses. It's depending what your needs are. And because there's become a scarcity of houses to buy at a reasonable price, I mean, that's all over Australia, and specifically Tassie, it's unbelievable, the price rise. So then people are going to look at less desirable houses on steeper sites.
Yeah, and because usually the cost of those sites might be a little bit cheaper.
Might be, subject to their view.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and we're already starting to see quite a few renos and stuff coming through that we're pricing up, but I can see more people buying more challenging sites.
But they don't always realise, I don't think, that they are going to be more challenging.
I agree with you, yes. Yes, looking at it through rose-coloured glasses sometimes.
They look at the view and think, that's spectacular. I can design a house that will, look out to this stunning view, but they don't realise all these other, impacts that will...
Yeah, the other thing is maintenance.
Exactly. People don't think of maintenance.
So if you use lightweight claddings, which is very popular at the moment, how are you going to repaint it? Because the scaffolding is going to cost you a fortune.
Oh, definitely.
So if you've got raw timber that needs regular coatings.
Yep, who's getting up the ladder?
Yeah, after hearing a few stories, people going up ladders.
Not a good idea.
No, it's a bit daunting.
Yes. So do your research.
Do your research, definitely. But yeah, steep blocks come with views, which is great, but also with cost, other risks, the expenses go through the roof.
So what are the take-home points that you would give to people that are looking to either renovate on a steep site or purchase a block of land that's steep?
Well, if you're renovating, I'd get a designer architect. If you're looking at buying to renovate, or if you're already looking to renovate, it's options. Getting a good designer architect to help you with options, looking at your wish list, what you want to achieve. Do that as early as possible so you can start planning it. If you're looking at steep sites, again, get a designer architect, builder to assist you and guide you on what the potential risks and costs are of the block. It may surprise you what the costs are, like really surprise you. Whereas renovating might be a better option, depending on the location, if the location works for you as well. Location's everything.
100%.
If you're near the school where you want your kids to go, you're near the shops, near your work, get rid of a car, all those types of things, yeah, go for it. But be prepared for a few inconveniences at times.
And a little bit of extra cost.
A little bit of extra cost, a little bit extra hard yakka, but at least you stay a bit fitter going up steeper sites, I reckon.
Yeah, that's the upside. All right, we might wrap it up there, guys. Until next time. Thanks for listening to the Building Design Primetime Podcast.
You're listening to the Building Design Primetime Podcast.